Hello. Hi. Welcome to Midlife Glory, where I am Katie. That's awkward, but I'm going to keep it. My name's Katie. I, among other things, solve the crossword puzzle, New York Times, every single day, and I bring you the solution to talk through, to enjoy, Um, and here we are. It's Friday, and I couldn't be more excited about Friday, to be honest. So let's get to it, kind of. I will say, let me go ahead and get us rolling here. I'm having all kinds of technical issues here today. I'm not sure what the problem is, but we're gonna we're gonna get through it. So I was saying I tried this once before and had a massive screw up, so I had to restart. But I was saying Fridays make me nervous. Um, I think it's like a form of PTSD from the early days when I would open a Friday, I would get like literally one answer in about a half an hour and then abandon ship. So it is a different story now that I have spent the time to get better at them. And I like that I am better at them. So here we go. I'm going to add some crossword solving music to help us. I did crop the recording today so you don't have to suffer through watching me type stuff in. But let's see, today is June 19th. Happy Juneteenth. And to celebrate such a day, Jack Hatchett has given us a puzzle. So let's go ahead and get her rolling here. So I started this with all the hopes in the world that this would end well. This was not as easy as I wanted it to be, not as hard, so that's good. These couple early clicks, I'm just really trying to get a lay of the land, and as always, just come up with an answer to get started with. I thought this was clever. Red state is ire. Because when you're red, you're as mad as a bull. I really wanted to get that one across, and that comes a little bit later in the game for sure. Oh, and this one too. I thought it was John Woo. Fun fact, I thought Woo was spelled W-U. And so I thought maybe this could be owned it 9 down, but no luck there. Common export, all I can think of is oil. Oil's on the brain right now. And then of course we have the obligatory era that shows up in every puzzle this week, I feel like. They're hot until they're not. I couldn't wait to see what that could possibly be. And so far, nothing. Now, here, I was like, Amityville Island, Amityville Horror, which is not this movie. So I was like, ugh, I don't remember. And here I thought maybe read early on before Hem came in, and then I was lost. So at least we know, finishing filming, you wrap it, and that gives us a little something to work with over here. Conned, I don't know if I write it in here or not, but it's had. And I think I'll eventually comes. Yeah, good. I kept thinking jaw would be part of the deal here. Hang on, I have a dog barking at me, and that cannot stand. Okay, so sorry. We're backing up just a bit because I have a dog on my case. So let's get back over here. We already discussed this is wraps, and I don't know epitome of thinness yet, but this is had. Okay, and now we're basically where we were before. Apologies for the interruption. Too bad. We'll come back to that. Oh yeah, the mushroom. I kept wanting to believe that this would be something jaw, and because that would be interesting. Now here I was like, John Woo. Once again, I thought John, first of all, I thought John was spelled Jon. So that was, I was like, no. And for some reason, I knew the name of the Kermit song, but I didn't know that's what the actual title was. And so It Ain't Easy Being Green is what I kept thinking. And I'm like, well, that's not right. This is oboe. And fun fact about this, hang on, I'm going to stop this for just a second. An oboe is pitched to a C, which is why the orchestra will often tune to the oboe. So there's a fun fact for you. All right. Shortcut is a bob. Fun fact, I may be heading to get a shortcut tomorrow, not a bob. And awards season, whatever that awards one is, that's a nom, right? Now here I was like, uh-oh. But thought this maybe is WNBA. All of the fill made sense, so I just went with it. And I do like this one. I don't remember if I got this right here, but in this long clue, yeah, I kept thinking this has got to be now. Oh, come on now. I like that clue a lot. That was clever. Obit is the final words, and Bill Barr. Oh, this is Midori Ito, when I believe the Olympics were in Nagano, Japan that year, and that's why she got to do that. Maker of soul music, tap shoe. That's a top 10 clue for this time around. What a shame. Too bad. What a shame. And preferring to keep one's feet on the ground, that will come more easily when oh, here we go. I was going to say, I knew right away or suspected it was going to be some kind of phobia or phobic. And so I just went ahead and took that guess. Oh, here, this one is tricky because originally I was looking for one name as the answer. And item on a dinner table is a hot roll. I'm going to stop right here because this is the perfect example of why Fridays should not be feared. And that is, the answers are extremely straightforward. There's no tricky, like, nod and wink or anything like that. So when you see the opportunity, that's why I'm taking a lot of these guesses, because I know there's not going to be something that's going to throw a wrench in what otherwise is a pretty straightforward plan. So hot roll is a great example because, I mean, that's true, but there's nothing particularly clever about that. It's just a fact, right? And Thomas Paine, I got that one less because I knew that quote and more because I knew Thomas Paine and the name fit. Succeed in, win at. And these can be a real blessing or a curse. So that Pokemon clue is a clear answer. Oh, this was funny. I knew shower, but I was like, a cold one can be okay. So I filled in shower because I wanted to move on. Ami is like a girlfriend in French, and insult is a slap. So we're all good there. Yeah, and here's where I was like, hang on. This is The Edge, who I believe is the U2 guitarist, right? Yeah. So this, I began to suspect. So this is Eli, the Hebrew name that's in here sometimes. So I kind of like knew that from here, and all bets are off. Common saying. Okay, so I was saying these types of clues are a blessing or a curse because they are literal facts. So if you know them, solid. That gives you a really clear like answer. If you don't, as in this case, it is a real pain in the neck with these clues because I had no idea the answer to this, and I was going to have to get the answer by solving everything around it, and sometimes that's just how it works out. Okay, so my guess was shower beer, and we're halfway. That ends up being right. How many people actually drink beer in the shower? Nothing sounds grosser to me than that. Losing side, we'll come to that. I didn't know. Yeah, glass blower. Concerned with transparency. And what do we have here? I think I get this here. The answer is swore by. And eventually, yeah, a la, in the style of. All of these, I started looking at this quadrant and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be. Now, 52, I had a guess. I was thinking that was gonna be worn, but I didn't want to commit because I didn't know anything else. But here, I go ahead and fill this in. Even if it's wrong, it gets me moving somewhere. And here, I can start to see 46 down. Yeah, I really wanted that rails one, and I thought maybe it's a train. Maybe it's, I was racking my brain to think what has rails related to it. Oh man, I mean, awesome way to just totally cripple me with like one quadrant that I know nothing of. Sudden reversal of fortune, no idea. Ugh, again, this side of the puzzle just. So I believe here, I say, hang on, this is probably wafer thin. Yeah, let's go with that. And tries to identify as a medical issue. It becomes clear it's going to be blanks 4, tests 4. And guess what? This is a shark. Its jaws is Amity Island. I had no idea that so something's percolating here because I'm starting to see maybe chips is the end of this answer, the across, 20 across. And so I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is funny when I get it. Nothing here except I was starting to see maybe this is tip, right? And it could be a rib tip or it could be a tri-tip. I don't know at this point. This is amuse-bouche. Talk about all those years of watching food TV paying off here. And I even knew how to spell it right. However, yeah, so we get pub fare on the bottom there because I'm now seriously almost committed to knowing that 20 across it's fish and chips, and that's pub fare. But let's go to amuse-bouche for a second here. So this is another great example of how Fridays can either really make you or break you. The fact that I knew this, awesome. The fact that I knew how to spell it, even better. But there's nothing tricky about this answer except that it's in French. But if you know the answer, there's nothing going on where you have to like subtract a third letter or something. And so that is the best way to think about these, especially Fridays and Saturdays. They both do the same thing. There's a lot more open space in the grid, but they're so much more straightforward and a lot of times factual, you know, like there is one correct answer for the clue. So I guess maybe that is part of the writing of the clues. They're just more straightforward, and if you know the answer, you're going to keep moving. And that is something I should mention here too, is the rule of crosswords is you're not sunk if you can add one new word to the crossword on every turn. You're really only sunk if you cannot add anything new and you don't know any of the other remaining answers, and then you go into troubleshooting mode. But if you can continue to add new answers to the puzzle, you're going to keep moving forward. So it's really one at a time. Like if you get to this point and you're like, oh my god, I'm never going to finish, you don't think about it that way. Think about it as, what's one word that I can fill in, it like restarts the whole game. Okay. Film noir. So you see, Amuse Bouche really opened up this top, like left and center part here. And so I finally do fill in fish in chips because that is the informal part of this clue. And a field trip, that was like, oof, get it. I think here I'm like, oh, that could be Arch. This, look, John Woo. Now, I felt vindicated because I was right the whole time. I just had the spelling wrong. Admitted fault is 8 Crow. And now this brings us to the mushroom clue. And I was like, is it really going to be Woodjaw? At this minute, I don't remember what this was. Here, I think I'm finally like, okay, let's just put in tri-tip, because I was trying to figure out that first one down. Yeah, wept. I thought that was pretty clever, actually. Morning announcement is I'm up. And now we have tri-tip. And this gives us Rome, which is a twin city. The question mark here, it's a twin city because the folklore around the founding of Rome says that Romulus and Remus, who were twins, founded the city, etc., etc. You know, Roman mythology. Okay, here we've got home run trot. Trip around the bases, right? And arch. And we have this I had an issue with. So I figure out, I fill in shark, but then I'm like, certain canine tusk. I was thinking of like a dog breed or something. Okay, I suppose a tusk is a form of teeth and a canine would be a tooth, but that's a stretch. That is a stretch. I have questions. This, to me, 10 down becomes a real albatross. They're hot until they're not. And staff, I kept thinking like team at work staff, you know, to staff a project or something. That was not the right way to think about it. And off-grid connection, kill me. That sounds brave, but very stupid. Don't be a hero. And this gives us Rebs. So the Battle of Shiloh was in the Civil War. Learn something new every day. And no, still, what's going on is news, which this feels all shaky from this point. I'm like, news, really? But what else could it be? And snow. And we can do better. So the real bummer here is that I don't know the actual name of this person. So this was not a great feeling because I'm now relying on these other down clues to solve that 60 across, and I don't know any of them for sure. So I'm now thinking like, oh man, if I submit this puzzle and it's not right, this is the first place I'm going back to. I say Brock? I'm thinking about Brock at that point. And I'm like, I can't deal with that right now. Let's come back up here. Mentions one's ringside. Drops a hint. I knew it had to be something related to like proposal and common export. I was like, duh, Katie. It'll come to me in a minute. When I get it, I'm like, now here, again, I was like, could this be jaw? It makes no sense to put a J there. So I abandoned and came back over here. And finally was like, let's see which one I get first. You can see I'm like, oh, another one that I don't know the answer to. Wood, saw, wood, jaw. Of course, it's much more straightforward. And I'm going to take a stab here and say Yat-sen. Yat-sen. Sun Yat-sen is what I kept thinking in my head. So I'm like, well, if that's a T, this then becomes shot? Because all I could see was show when I was reading the 35 down, and I'm like, it's not a W here. So if I go ahead and say, okay, I think it was just sounding right to me, Yatsen. So I was like, okay, if this becomes being, finally, it clicked for me. So I was like, bank shot? That's a thing. Bank shot's a thing. Let's go with that. And no help here. Common export. Here's where I'm like, duh. This is not like or something. It's a PDF. And that gave me Perry. So I knew this was going to be, and staff then, yeah. So they're hot till they're not fads. And staff then is not like staff at a company. It is like a walking stick staff, rod. So that gives me this. And I know it's going to be something like Peripedia or something, but I have no clue. So we've entered the frustration portion of this solution. So I'm like, fine, I don't know 51 down. Yatsen is the best I can do for that. And I'm like, does that make any sense? Sure, let's. And here is where I'm like, wait a minute. Is this, could it be? I'm like, no, I have no idea. I have no idea. Now, in hindsight, I'm going to slow this down for a minute. In hindsight, what I should have done is just start, cluing things. Did I do that? I did not. I was real stuck, and I kept thinking, like, what is this? And I clicked around. I'm going to save you that. I clicked around for a good long time. And then I was like, okay, I got to appeal to a higher power. And so I had me a moment of learning, a little look-see moment over here. And you can see that I will be able to confirm some things here. So the look-see that I did was actually on this French director, because I was like, I am never going to get this. It is unclear to me. I'm having my learning moment as we speak. Oops. So sorry. That is Renee. So I think it's Renee Claire. And that means wood ear makes sense. Off-grid connection. I'm going to stop this right here because this type of thing drives me crazy. When you have off-grid written with the hyphen, that is an actual word. It is an adjective, off-grid. Correctly noted and spelled with the hyphen. So when you put it in a clue with a question mark and the answer is the, I think that is sneaky at best and the worst at the worst. What is that? So the answer here is ultimately off the grid, which gives us peripetia. Also never heard of that. But I don't like it when constructors do this. They like wrangle the language for themselves. And on the one clue I really needed, I'd be curious to see how many people got to this and were like, what the heck? Because if I didn't get stuck on the French director, I was most certainly going to get stuck right here. There's zero doubt that that's going to be a thing. And so I appeal to my higher learning power one more time and am finally able to put this one in the books. So was it a perfect solve today? No, by no stretch. However, it did end up being so much faster. You can see here, I've preserved my 40-day streak. Couldn't be happier about that. But 8 minutes faster. And that was with the, and I will say, when I do appeal to my higher learning power, I leave the timer running. So the timer accounts for any help that I may need to get in the long run. And so I thought this was pretty interesting. And the way the puzzle played out kind of supports that. you can see that a lot of it was guesses on the long fill, but that really moved things along. So that's where we are. I was happy with that solve. I'm never happy with having to go and look for an answer. That always feels annoying to me. However, and I've said it once, I'll say it multiple times here, my general approach with this puzzle is that it's a learning experience. So if I don't know the answer, I believe it is clearly fair play to get a little hint without, I am not in it for the way I do my stats is I'm not in it for the perfect solve. I'm in it for the correct solve. And that's how I kind of like position my entire game. If I wanted to be competitive in crosswords, which I do not, I would have to approach it differently, because obviously you can't get helpsies when you're solving these puzzles. And that's like the next phase. So I finally gotten to the point where I can very capably solve Friday and Saturday with minimal help, usually with no help. But the next step, if I wanted to level up my game again, it would be to commit to solving them without help, and create a lot more stress in my life that I don't need. So personally, I'm not too interested in that. Anyway, that's the solve for today. It went pretty well, all things told. As I said, Fridays and today, I'm already like dreading the Saturday, just because that's how it is. These longer, wide open puzzles at the end of the week you are at the mercy of the constructor, truly. So we'll see. But anyway, hope you found it enjoyable. Hope you enjoyed, or you found it helpful, or whatever. And if you're still here, thanks for watching. That's awesome. And I will see you tomorrow for the Saturday. And guess what that means? The Sunday solve is merely moments away. Moments. So until then, TGIF, have a great end of the work week. Happy Juneteenth, and I'll see you tomorrow.